How's it going, guys? Andrew here with Justified EDC, and I have a review for you today, not on a knife, not even on a tool or a piece of gear, but an accessory for your J-frame revolvers here. These are some really interesting and innovative grips from Hamre Forge. I've been saying Hamre Forge this whole time, but just the other day I heard him talk on a video and they pronounced it Hamre, so I apologize. I've been saying that wrong in all the videos that I've been showing this off in. But Hamre Forge, they did send these along for me to check out. One of you guys actually asked if I had any experience with these. I hadn't heard of them, so I went on Instagram, started following them, and I really liked what they're doing. So I had reached out and asked if they would be interested in sending me a set of grips to review, and they graciously did. So full disclosure, this was provided to me from the manufacturer. No money was exchanged. They're not telling me what to say. I made no promises to them, so I will do my best to not let that affect my review at all, but just wanted to get that out there that this was sent to me by the manufacturer. So before we get into this, all my thoughts and everything like that, we just have to thank the sponsor of the channel, which is Auxiliary Manufacturing. Auxiliary Manufacturing, Mike over there is making some awesome custom USA-made fixed blades like this Pocket Bowie and this Sumi, and so many others. He has a bunch of different models. So if you're looking for a custom USA-made fixed blade from a really great guy, one-man shop, definitely go check him out. I do have a discount code with him. Code Justified10 will get you 10% off your order on his website. So I will leave down in the description the links to his Instagram and his website, as well as that discount code. So if you're interested in those, definitely use that code and get yourself some money off, and definitely tell him I sent you. And thank you as always to Mike for sponsoring the channel. So let's get right into this here. These are really interesting grips that are doing something that have kind of been done before, but I think doing it in a better way than ever before. So right off the bat, the composition of these are actually a 3D printed carbon fiber material. I think nylon carbon fiber is what they described it as. But this is an aspect of 3D printing that I'm actually not as familiar with. You can go on their website and check out, the materials and stuff they're using in the process. It's not traditional, additive manufacturing, 3D printing like you're thinking of, or you're extruding filament in layers and everything like this. This is more of a powder process. So it's really, really interesting if you want to look into it. So I won't speak to that as I'm not an expert on it. But all that being said, the material is very strong and it is very grippy. It has this natural texture on it, which is very, very nice. So if you're interested more in the actual process of how these are made and the material and stuff, you can check out their website and do some YouTube rabbit holes for yourself. But that's the material that they are made of. So that's what that texture is on there. It's really, really cool looking. And as we get into more of my use, I'll talk about how much I like that texture. But the main feature here is these are boot grips for the J-frame. As you can see, they're boot grip style. They're pretty much the same shape that most boot grips are. I'll give you a comparison here to the grips that I was carrying with before. These are these VZ grips or are these Hogue? Yeah, these are Hogue. So these are G10 grips, but if you put them next to each other, you can see they're very much the same kind of cutout style with the two finger notches that most J-frame boot grips are. You do have a higher, it does come up higher here, which gives you a little bit more support on the side. He also sent me, in addition to the claw or the hook grip, he also sent me one of these that is just more of a traditional grip, but it gives you much more of a swell up towards the top here. It gives you more support in that webbing part of your hand when you're shooting. I've used both of these. I've mostly been carrying with these though, just because this is kind of just your more, with these two together, this is kind of just your more traditional set of J-frame grips. Texture and feel is all very good, but this is where it gets special. So this one here, as you can see, if you look down from the top, there's actually a flare out here and kind of this hook shape where most hooks or belt hooks or pocket hooks or whatever you want to call them for J-frames have been frame mounted, where you use these mounting screws, and it's usually a metal hook that sits around here. This is you don't have to disassemble the gun at all. You just put these on with a single screw like you do most boot grips, and it has an integrated claw or hook or wing or whatever you want to call it that sits on your belt. So actually I have another pair of my pants here. This is not the belt that I normally carry with. I normally carry with a gun belt. Because I'm wearing it, we're going to use this here. And actually, for the safety nerds, I know everyone wants to see the gun is unloaded now. So now everyone doesn't have to cry about it. There you can see cylinders unloaded. So when tucked into your pants like that, this actually provides a pretty stable package to be able to carry this without a holster. So we know that with traditional semi-autos, especially striker fired semi-autos, it's not safe to carry without a holster. J-frames, double action revolvers in general, or just a lot of double action guns in general, are more safe to carry without a holster because they have this long, heavy trigger pull, where it's pretty hard to just accidentally bump that trigger and make it go off. The amount of force that I'm doing right here, my Glock would have fired already. But with that, on a J-frame, that's not going off unless you deliberately pull that long trigger. So why would you want one of these? Well, you could be carrying a holster, leather, suede, Kydex, whatever. But this does not add any footprint to the gun. A lot of people want to pocket carry a J-frame, then that's all well and good. But if you want to throw it inside the waistband, but you don't want to put on a holster, say you're trying to keep it as lightweight as possible and comfortable as possible, well, there's no better way to carry without a holster than something like this, where you're not adding any size or weight to the gun. All you're dealing with concealment and weight is just the weight of the actual gun itself. So I'm going to bring this back out here to kind of show you. When you tuck it in here, this is kind of the angle that it carries at, which is very easy. If I flip this around, it's very easy to come in here and draw like that. That's kind of the angle that it sits at. Now, as you move and sit and move around, it does have a tendency to kind of dip down like this, which you don't have as much of room to get underneath and actually get a full firing grip, when this is up against your body. But what I've found with a little bit of practice, it's not that hard to just kind of come down here, get the webbing of your hand right on the gun, get your thumb underneath, and just kind of have this kind of grip like this, and pull it out, and then wrap your fingers around, and you come out in a full firing grip. So kind of hard to show that on camera, but I did want to address, if people were going to say, oh, does it tilt or can't or anything like that? Yes, it does, as opposed to something like this, if you were carrying in a holster with a solid clip like this that keeps it from rotating, it is going to rotate a little bit, but it's not enough that I ever had a problem drawing it. I did a lot of dry fire with this, and when I, was drawing from concealment at the range, I didn't have any problem with those draws. Once I got used to the fact that sometimes I'd be able to get a full firing grip on it from the draw, and sometimes I'd kind of have to palm it like that and come out and then rotate my grip around. So that's just something to be aware of. But the trade-off that you're getting, whereas, if you were going to carry a J-frame all the time, like it was your main carry gun, and it's the only thing you wanted to carry, you might be better off with something like this. This is the Harry's Holsters Icon 2.0. It's my absolute favorite J-frame holster. I can't fit it in here super well with these grips on. But just to give you a visual, this gives you a much more solid platform where your retention is going to be higher because you actually have the retention of the Kydex down here. You have a dual clip here, which keeps it from rotating. And overall, I think it's just going to be a more efficient way to carry. But what I think this is really, really good for is for someone like me who, excuse me while I grab this, most of the time is carrying a full-size striker-fired handgun like this Glock 17 with a weapon light on it. When I want to do something when I want something lightweight, it's usually like I'm just, running out to get the mail, or I'm running a minute down the street to pick up some food, or just going on a quick walk or something like that, and I just want to be able to throw something in my waistband. I don't want to have to put a belt on. I don't want to have to get a holster that's going to weigh my pants down or anything like that. This is very easy to just have somewhere in your house that's secure. But you can just grab this, throw it in your waistband, and you're off. You don't have to worry about anything like that. So, if this was going to be your 365, 24/7 carry gun, I would probably still recommend carrying in a holster, just because your draws are going to be more consistent, your retention is going to be better. But for people like me who are carrying a full-size gun most of the time, which is much heavier, that, if I'm wearing athletic shorts and I just need to run out and get my mail, I don't want to have to go put jeans on, put my belt on, and then throw this gun on. I can just grab this, throw it in my waistband, and it's so light that I don't have to worry about it. So that's really what I think this is for. Just going over some of the other features here. This cutout on the other side, and this is going to kind of get into like one of my only nitpicks on this. This cutout here on the side is for if you're going to be doing reloads with a speed loader. This speed loader is actually from a company called Revision CV, who, if you've seen this little guy, my little North American Arms in 22 Magnum, they make these G10 grips, which I think are the best grips for this gun, by the way. I've never done a review on this, but this actually makes this gun shootable. So they make these G10 grips. They also make a couple different style speed loaders. This is just the one that I've found that I like the best. So I've seen other shooters out here who are much more proficient with revolvers than I am, that use like the Safariland and all those kinds of more mainstream speed loaders. Those all fit in here as well. But as you can see, that cutout there is plenty of room to get a speed loader in. No problem. You're not going to be hindered at all getting your speed loader in and out. So that's what that cutout is for. The only thing that I had, quote-unquote, an issue with, and it wasn't even that big of a deal, is this ridge right here where the cutout starts. I don't know if you can see, but it's fairly pointed. And so when I was shooting like this, when you use your standard revolver grip where you tuck your thumbs like this, under recoil, this ridge really kind of rattled my thumb, and it got uncomfortable for a while. Now, again, a J-frame, you're not going to be probably shooting hundreds of rounds through this at a time. For most people, you're practicing with this every once in a while just to stay proficient enough that for the 1 or 2 times a year that you carry it, that you're still proficient with it. So it's not a huge deal. This isn't a gun that, like the Glock or something else, that you're running hundreds of rounds through and you're shooting all the time. But just be aware that could get a little bit uncomfortable, just that ridge on your thumb. Now, again, this material is super easy to modify and sand down. These are actually made for the more squared off hammerless J-frames. So there was a little bit of a point up here that I just, as you can see there, I just used a Dremel and rounded off to kind of match the rounded aspect of this bobbed hammer on the 638. So I probably could, and I actually probably will, end up just hitting this with the Dremel and just rounding down that to make it less of a sharp edge. I know I had seen a comment on their social media that they were talking about doing that in general on future runs, but I like the cutout. It works really great for speed loaders. I'd just say soften that edge a little bit, just so under recoil, these little guns really do kick a whole lot. They're not the most fun guns to shoot in general, regardless of what grips you have on them. So just something like that might make it a little bit more pleasant of an experience, especially if you're shooting hotter, defensive loads through it. But not that big of a deal. Real quick, I just wanted to show you how the other grip panel looks on here, and just how easy it is to swap these on and off. And I'll also give you a little bit of a comparison to how it looks against these Hogues. So comes with an Allen key, and they give you a screw. The screw that you normally the normal standard flathead screw that J-frames come with. At least this older one. I don't know if the updated one. This one is actually from the 90s. So a lot of these design changes might not carry over to you. But they give you a new screw to use that works with this Allen key. I have not Loctited this or anything like that, and these have not come loose under recoil at all. I wanted to run it without any Loctite or anything to see if these loosened up or anything, and I did not have any issues with that. So all you have to do is take that one screw apart, and these just pop open. You can see there's their logo on the inside, so you can kind of see, if you look at it, that's kind of what the grain of the material looks like. And then there's that texture on the outside. This texture is really great. Usually I have to add some kind of, you know, foam tape or, you know, hockey tape or something to my J-frame grips to get the texture that I want, because those guns really jump around on you. This grip texture has been awesome. I have not had to add anything. So I have a hole here. Obviously you just line that up with your pin, put that on there, get this guy all lined up on there, and then just run your screw back in, which this is harder to do under the camera than I thought it would be, but here we go. So now that that's on there, hopefully YouTube doesn't ding me for showing modifications to a firearm. YouTube, if you're manually reviewing this, these are literally just grips. These are not, you know, serialized parts. These are not. This is not modifying a firearm. These are literally parts that you can order and have shipped to your door. They change nothing about the functionality of the gun. So here you can see, you know, that's kind of it mirrored on this side of how this little wing comes up a little bit higher. So if I was ever going to carry with these, I would probably just round that off there to fit this. But this, compared to something like the Hogue, you can see how much more material you'll have up here that really supports that part of your hand when you're shooting and makes it much more comfortable. I did shoot with both of these, and these are plenty supportive as well, because that wing comes up on that same area. But this is a very, very comfortable grip as well. So I'm actually thinking of, you know, if I end up ever carrying in my holster again, my guess is I'm going to keep using these, just because, again, I so sporadically carry my J-frame. But if I ever needed to consistently carry it again, I'd probably go back to this holster and just swap to these grips, because these are way more comfortable than anything like this. You don't have nearly as much palm support on those as you do with these. So top down, there you go, kind of more angled out. Trying to show you there on camera. But these are very, very comfortable as well. These don't have the hook, obviously, but still you have the spot for the speed loader, and you have much more support for your firing hand with these. So just wanted to show you that. Also, I'm going to swap back over to the other ones. I just wanted to give you an overall thickness difference between something like these Hogues. I'm pretty sure all of the Hogues and VZ grips and, you know, all the other guys that make G10 grips, they're usually a pretty standard size and thickness. So me giving you a measurement for the Hogues should give you a pretty decent idea of, you know, most basic manufacturers that you're going to get for other grips. So I just wanted to get you a thickness on here. I do feel that the Hamre Forge ones are a touch thicker. They just feel a little bit thicker in hand, but let's check that for sure. Where did my calipers go? So, it's my battery. My battery is almost dead. We're barely getting anything, but we're gonna zero her out here and check at the thickest point, which is right about there. We're at 1.24, so just under an inch and a quarter. And then let's quick swap these out for the Hogues and get another measurement. While I'm doing this, one other point I wanted to make is that on these Hogues, you really only get texture on the side. They made this really aggressive milled kind of dot pattern texture on here, which is great, but you really want texture on the parts of the gun where you're putting inward pressure, because you're gripping inward. You're not gripping like this. And this is completely smooth on both the front and the back, which makes it technically more comfortable when you're holding it in your hand. But you don't get as much grip and texture this way, which is kind of what you want. So I do prefer having the texture all over on these than I do here. You don't get a whole lot of actual grip from these. So I'm not going to run the screw in just because I'd have to go get the other screw. But holding these together and measuring, again, at what looks to be the thickest point of these, 1.13. So they are, the Hamre Forge ones are technically thicker. It's not by a whole lot, but I will tell you, just from someone who's used a lot of J-frame grips, these do feel a little bit thicker than the average. That's what she said. So your mileage may vary. It may not matter to you, or you may not notice it, but if you're someone who's tried a lot of different grips, you might notice that these are just a hair thicker. Same with these as well. So I talked about the speed loader just because, you know, that's what that cutout is for, but also these work really well with your speed strips. This is the speed strip that I carry in this Neomag RASC. These things are great, and no problem getting those in there either. Even on those bottom slots there, you can still see there's clearance for that, so no problem reloading with the speed strip, and no problem loading with the speed loader. So I don't have a whole lot more to say about these guys other than these are a really, really great option. Again, I think if you're going to be carrying every single day with a J-frame, that's not something I would choose to do, but if that's you, I would still recommend something like this Harry's Holsters Icon 2.0. Absolutely fantastic holster. I think it's the best option out there for J-frames. I'll leave a link to this as well as all of the Hamre Forge stuff. But if you're someone that, again, you're most of the time carrying a full-size gun, or just a larger gun is your normal everyday carry, and you just want a J-frame for the, you know, once a month, twice a month, when you either really need something small, or, you know, you just need to run outside and want to quick throw a gun in your waistband, this is, I think, an absolutely awesome option. I would really love to see these with a longer grip as well, less of a boot grip and more of a full size. And not even with the wing, because that would kind of defeat the purpose of it being the smallest possible. But I'd love to see, you know, this grip panel like this, with this texture, this material, and how these feel, but in a full-size grip for a J-frame, because, you know, that's, you know, with the larger handles, with the larger grips, you really have a lot more control when firing this, especially quickly. But there's not a whole lot of people out there that make full-size, you know, more like full-frame grips for J-frames, because it is a little bit more of a niche thing. But I would think that would be really cool to see, you know, this style of grip but extended out so you can get a full firing grip. I would definitely be interested in that. But as always, thank you to the Hamre Forge for sending this over. It's been an absolute pleasure to carry with this and use this. I'm definitely going to continue using these for my purposes, and I think, honestly, if I ever went back to carrying in a holster, I'd probably just swap this grip panel over and, you know, completely ditch these Hogues. These are nicely made, but again, you know, not having any grip texture on the inside here where you're giving that kind of inward pressure doesn't really do it for me, and the palm support on these, both with the wing here and with the larger side on this grip panel, is just much better than your standard boot grips. So that's all I really have to say, guys. Just thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I know this wasn't the most, you know, organized review, but I'm not a gun reviewer. I'm not a gun accessories reviewer primarily. So I just wanted to give you my thoughts, just as the, you know, the kind of common person that would pick one of these up, just my experience. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Definitely go check out Hamre Forge and show them your support. I will leave links down in the description to everything that I talked about, and I will see you guys in the next video.